Hello, my name is Dionne D. Hunter, and I am the event coordinator for a Night of Artistic Renewal, Representation Equals Power. And today I have the privilege of being with two of our esteemed performers. Uh, First, we're going to start by introducing a young man. He has contributed to several magazines, one of which is called Suave. It's a premier lifestyle magazine. He's conducted uh, poetry workshops throughout the Raleigh Durham area. Um, and he has been featured in several publications. But most notably, at least in my mind, he is the former department head of poetry at the Raleigh Film and Arts Festival. Let's give it up for DS Will.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yay!
Thank you so much, Dion, for this privilege and honor to be on this platform and to be a part of this very esteemed collection of artists with this night of artistic renewal. And I'm looking forward to it and everything that it has to bring and the immediate and long lasting impact that it will have on our artistic communities.
Thank you so much, and we're so happy to have you. Now, we also have the beautiful, such a beautiful and talented young lady. She's earned her BA in English in a concentration of creative writing from North Carolina A&T State University. She's presently enrolled in the master's program for English and African American literature. She's published two books. The first one is called Maple Sunrise, and the second is Ochre. And gosh, pronounce that for me.
In Oka Road.
Thank you, thank you. But most notably, this beautiful young lady is the Aggie Poet Laureate for the 23-24 academic year at North Carolina A&T University. Let's give it up for Essence Connor Barringer.
Thank you so much. I'm more than overjoyed and excited and thrilled to be a part of this night. And like DS said, I believe that it will have a long lasting impact on not only myself, but all of the performers and artists that will be there. I'm very excited to see uh, and be a part of the showcase. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for, you know, being a part of the show. Now, what interested me, if I can just jump right into the interview about you, Essence, is that I read that you started your interest in poetry or writing when you were about 6 years old. Is that correct?
Yes.
So tell me, how did that happen?
So I was really interested in a lot of the things my older sister would write. She's always been on the psychology path. So sometimes when she would go to school, I'd read her papers. I wouldn't really know what they meant, but I was always just interested in learning more. Words. I was always big on reading and learning. And even with my mother, when I would go with her, 'cause she's a truck driver, and I would write down silly, but I would write down all of the signs that I would see of through the different states and that sort of thing. And they always bought me books, so I was always reading, and I just have always loved to read and write because of it.
Nice, nice. Does that strike a chord with you, DS? Did you also start writing at a young age, or did it come to you later in life?
Very similar path to Essence as it relates to influence of older individuals. So I was introduced to poetic luminaries at a very young age, but I also had a very wild imagination. So I was a comic book collector growing up. So I would picture myself wearing a cape and tying the sheet around my neck and creating these stories based upon my visions that I had. So um, just to kind of reiterate what Essence says, the community in your circle plays such an important part in pouring into your creative devices when you're young, that continues on to when you get older to help you be able to produce these memorable pieces of art.
Yes, yes, most definitely. So, Essence, when did you know, or did you know from that young age that you wanted to attend college and, make it a career, or, how did you travel that path?
Funny enough, I knew that I wanted to write in some capacity probably around the age of like 13, 14. It wasn't until my senior year of high school that I decided I wanted to go to college because I was like, I've been in school basically my whole life. I'm tired. And then I had my English teacher. She actually went to A&T as well, and I didn't know it until later on. But she embedded our curriculum with a lot of African American literature. And she kind of brought my love back for English and literature. So then I was like, you know what? I do want to go to college. I want to learn more. I want to learn as much as I can. And that's kind of what happened for me.
That's so. Did she? It was just her bringing it to your attention, or did she push you in that direction?
I will say, bringing it to my attention, I think that she kind of made literature fun and inclusive. I think I kind of was lacking that with learning. And not to say that I don't enjoy Shakespearean literature or things of that nature, but I didn't really see myself in those works. And so it was
Mhm.
kind of hard for me to connect with it.
Yes, yes, yes. Diaz, I see you shaking your head over there. Did you want to add something?
Yeah, and I promise this interview will not be just me piggybacking off the gems that Essence is dropping, but you hit the nail on the head, and it goes along with what we're going to be doing at the end of April is representation. And though I enjoyed writing these fanciful stories, poetry wasn't an art form that I gravitated towards because even though I was introduced to these luminaries, I didn't see myself in those narratives. Their
Mhm.
situations was something I didn't necessarily connect with. So when I did attempt poetry, it was emulating someone else's vision. And therefore, there wasn't that authenticity that was being presented, right? It
Mhm.
was copy and paste. And it wasn't until I was introduced to spoken word, probably about my junior year in high school, when it clicked. I said, that's it. That's what I go through. I go through walking in the inner city and taking public transportation and dealing with the plights of an urban environment. And when you make that connection, that's when it starts to flow. That's when the accurate portrayal of who you are and what you've been through can be presented through a lens that other individuals can associate themselves with.
Yes, yes. And you hit the nail on the head. That is one of the most important aspects of a night of artistic renewal is putting that positive representation of, for us up on the stage for youth and adults to see. A lot of times on the news, all they show is shooting, killing, stealing, anything negative. And we have to present to, our community that we are greater and more. So, I'm feeling both of you. Now, Diaz, I know that you began either an organization or a project where you recorded youth doing their poetry. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So during my tenure with the Raleigh Film and Art Festival, I began an initiative called Voices to Real. Basically, that play on words of real, authentic voices and then being able to capture them on film. Film is another passion of mine. It's been ever since I was young, and it's a keepsake, it's a souvenir, it's something that we can carry with us. So I figured, why don't we highlight the geniuses that we have in our communities? I listen to some of the work of our youth and can't imagine me being able to produce that at that age because they've lived life, right? And to positive side of that, they're able to articulate that. But sometimes it's so heavy, right? the experiences that they've had to go through. So to be able to create a platform and them have an outlet, but it's also critical about boosting their self-esteem.
Mm.
So imagine you walk into a theater or an auditorium and you get to see yourself plastered on a screen, delivering your original work around the individuals that care about you, and you receiving recognition and adulation from that. And that was the core basis of being able to create that initiative, is giving our youth the platform, is giving them the stage, is giving them their spotlight that unfortunately sometimes is not shined upon them.
Yeah. Yeah. And have they come back? Have you followed any of the folks that were a part of your program or kept in touch with any of them?
I have. Some have gone on to college. Others have pursued like their artistic endeavors. So it's definitely planted a seed. Um, we're never like really responsible for the creation of artists, right? We really just kind of plant the embryo or pave the pathway, because it's all a part of a divine purpose, that individuals are put into our lives. But we have to be cognizant and be able to recognize it, and again have that esteem to know that my voice deserves to be heard.
Mm.
That's at the crust of artistic expression, is the belief that you deserve to be seen and heard.
Yes, yes, definitely. Now, speaking on that, Essence Poet Laureate. Woohoo! I mean, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. So, can you tell us, maybe um, what was the process for that, and when did the light go off, where you're like, you know what, I think I could be Poet Laureate. How did that all come to be?
Well, I remember I want to say it was my junior year of college, and I spoke with someone who was very deeply embedded in the English department. She's a student. Her name was Ebony. And she was telling me, she was like, "Oh, you could be the poet laureate." And I kind of just like was like, "No, okay, I guess." Like, I don't know. Um, and then I applied. I was talking to my friend, and it was after I had finished my workout at the gym. And I was like, I really want to apply, but I don't know if my work's good enough. And he was like, like, you're really talented. You should try. And I was still downplaying myself, and
Mhm.
I submitted everything. And then Dr. DePolo, he called me and he was like, "Hey," and I was like, "Hi," and I was looking crazy because I'm like, the semester's over, so I don't know what this is about. And he told me that I won, and I asked him like, "Are you serious?" Like 3 times, and he was like, "Yeah, yeah." And I was just in awe for quite some time. I'm still in awe. It's such an honor that I can't even fathom it sometimes.
Mhm, mhm. What does being a poet laureate entail?
Um, so it's more so being an ambassador for the school, just paving the way for creatives to engage with different events that we may have on campus or outside of campus. Just building like a close knit community, whether it's poetry, whether it's short stories, fiction, any of that. Just knowing, having other students know that they can share their work in whatever type of way that they need to, and just having events that harness that type of creation.
Mhm, mhm. And you also work as you do work writing assistance.
Yeah. I also, as part of my assistantship, I work in the writing center at school. And more so, what that is just helping us students with any type of literature that they may have, whether it's a psychology paper or they're writing an internship essay, just helping them with organization and content, grammar, syntax, that sort of thing.
Mhm, mhm. Do you find that most students downplay their artistic abilities, whether it's with writing or whatever it might be, just downplay themselves as well, not giving themselves as much credit as they should?
Definitely. I always try to encourage students, especially when I see them, I get very excited about students who are writing poetry or short stories or things of that nature, it's really exciting for me. So I'm always encouraging them to put it out there, show everyone that they can, and just believe in yourself, because you'll really be surprised at who else believes in you and how far you can go.
Hmm. Hmm. One of my tenants is, you know, the only thing they can say is yes or no. But
Yeah,
if you don't apply or if you don't ask, the answer is automatically no. So we have
definitely.
to have that faith in ourselves, at least enough faith to submit and see what happens. So I'm sure all of the kids appreciate the time and effort that you give them.
Yeah, I really enjoy working with them too.
Good, good. Now, Diaz, so you you're actually in the community doing performing spoken word as a profession, I believe. In addition to everything else that you do, how does one go about that? How do you say, I'm going to be a professional poet? How do you do that?
So, not quite yet. It's not the primary source of bread and butter, but it does fill in some voids. So you are right, and it does take a certain level of dedication and a self assurance in order to do that. The decision really came into play where, let me say this: my father has a saying. He says, "If you're good, you never have to say it. You don't. You never have to self proclaim or self promote in that way because other individuals will let you know." And so when I noticed that I started to receive that type of feedback, that I was ready to really to take this art form seriously and to know what the power of words are, and to have the feedback after shows about people coming up and saying and reciting my lines back to me about how that changed their perspective. And that's when I knew that I had a gift. And what's interesting is that there's been times where I've like taken sabbaticals and I've stopped and I've had to get reminders about what my purpose was. I remember I went on a cruise one time and I met this young man and we were conversing, and he said to me, he's like, I can tell that you do some type of performing. I was like, how do you know? It's like, it's just something in you. He's like, are you active in that now? I'm like, no, I kind of took a step back. And he says, every time that you don't utilize your gift, it's like you're slapping God in the face. And
Mhm.
it was such a visceral analogy that he used. It stuck with me forever. So I take that and I pour into other individuals to let them know that what you do, not everyone has the ability to do it.
Mhm.
And when you come across individuals who may not have the ability, you have the power to awaken them to their latent talent and skills. So that's what I basically encompass and what really is the driving force behind taking the art form seriously.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, yeah. And in addition to that, I know you just didn't wake up one day and you were performing um, outstandingly. You actually, put time and effort in, and